what I noticed the other night, Martin, was that Rob Holding came in for a bit of flack after the game. Now, of course, he's in there and he's doing his best because Saliba is not. But is it right to make him any kind of a scapegoat? I would say not, because can anyone cope with Haaland defensively at this moment?
This is absolutely right. You've got to look at levels, and you've got to look at what they're playing against now, these young central defenders. And we can, as ex-players, give them pointers, and we can give them some help or where they can be. But I was asked that question before the game, and I was thinking to myself, the only thing I'm thinking about is Haaland and my first impact on him, my first challenge. And that was pretty well the first opportunity to lay down a marker, that ball that was played into him. And then
what would you have done?
Well, I'd have been more physical, and I might have actually tried to get in front of him, because what he was trying to do was he was pushing back to establish where he wanted to be on the pitch, and then the ball into his chest, into his feet was then going to be easy. And at that moment, that's when you need to contest. Not when the ball comes. You need to get in front or get on alongside, and then you make it difficult. But you obviously run the risk of actually getting turned or missing out, because he's very powerful, he's very strong. We know it's quite unique. Perhaps I didn't have to play against anybody with this skill set of this kind of pace, this kind of finishing.
Who's the nearest individual to him that you played against?
I don't know. I played against a lot, Jim. Batistuta was a big man, was strong, didn't have this pace, but he had the control with his back to goal. Played against Kenny Dalglish, who was probably the best person I played against him protecting the ball, as Haaland does. Henry was definitely quicker, but not much quicker. So when you look at that, all of that package, it's quite difficult to play, and you've got to be some defender to be able to deal with it, but you've got to have the right mindset first.
Yeah.
And I think, he could have actually tried to sneak it in front, pinch it, make it more difficult for himself.
On that, Martin, your pal Sol Campbell was talking about Haaland, how he might or might not have coped with him.
I would not allow him to kind of get into the lane, because once he's in that lane, it's hard to kind of get him off that lane. Get in that lane, disturb his running. Yes, you can't play and you can't defend every scenario, but for me, don't allow that space behind you as a defender. Always block it off, but don't block it off and stop. Block it off and run and change the position, because the picture keeps on changing. There's a lot of running to do in this game, and you've got to be prepared to run.
Virtually what you're saying, Martin, actually. He would get in his lane. You were saying you were getting in front of him, disrupt him.
There's lots of things that you can do, Jim. As a back four, as a defender, you can drag the line forward. You can get in front of him. You can be alongside him. I used to like to take that little bit of a triangle sort of situation, just to the. So if I was playing on the right side centre half, I would just be to the right of my centre forward, where I can swing that right foot to try and make a challenge, to try and upset him. I could maybe try and get in front a little bit as the ball's in flight, so that I can just go and take it. But to just stand behind him, let him bring it down, and then pick a pass was the wrong way to go.
You're asking for it, aren't you, by doing that? I mean, Sam, in Manchester City now, bang on course. Kyle Walker wouldn't admit it post-match to me, but he knows it. They're on course for their 5th title in 6 years. Yeah. In terms of outcomes, is it becoming harder to argue that the Premier League isn't going into the same kind of territory, if you like, as the Bundesliga or Ligue 1, whereby one club dominates? 5th title in 6 years?
Yeah, I think there's an argument to be had that is something that people will be troubled by, but we also have this remarkably competitive Premier League that has so many different twists and intrigues in it. Winning the league is one thing, qualifying for the Champions League is another, getting relegated is another. All of them have sub-stories, subplots that make it as equally compelling, which makes it equally as valuable around the world. The boats that get risen in the high tides are all the teams. Liverpool have pushed City before. They've had a sleep this season. They'll be back next year. Chelsea, we're surprised, and we'll see them coming. Newcastle will arrive on the scene at some point, but I don't think they'll do what you think they'll do. I think they're more likely to do what Martin suggests they'll do, is maybe have a slightly more difficult season next year. If they achieve top 4 again next season, I think it will be remarkable, and then they'll really launch off that.
I'm still waiting for
£1,000. But again, I think
I know
I don't. Yeah, you're going to get there. Absolutely, I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to do it. I lost my bet.
Okay,
but insofar as Man City are concerned, no, I don't worry about this idea, because I do believe that the league is so competitive, and if they win the league this year against a side that's going through a transition from being a club that's been slightly asleep for a few years to a club that's beginning to compete, if they supplement Arteta and they buy into the vision that he's given them now, which is, I need a little bit more, and there's good reason for you to give it to me. So if he gets a couple of £100 million, which is vast amounts of money, but not beyond the gift of Arsenal to be able to provide for him, then he closes the gap. If they win the league this year, in a side that Arsenal that's perhaps not ready to be champions yet. They're not quite ready to be it. They'll be more ready next year. If they win it by 4 points in a season where Liverpool haven't been competitive, Chelsea have been away with themselves, God knows what Spurs are, United are rebuilding, and then I don't see this dynasty. I don't see it. But even if it is, but the league itself still has this remarkable set of backstories. So totally. I don't think we have to worry about it becoming like what Germany has become, or what like Spain has become, because we've got so many other subsets of the stories to have.
Simon's nailed it there. The number of backstories in this season alone in the Premier League, they've been so numerous you can hardly remember all of them. I mean, it's fabulous, that, Martin.
It's been astonishing to see Chelsea capitulate as a football club and striving for greatness, and actually what was there wasn't that bad in the first place. I think it stems from the quality of our managers, Jim. I think Pep Guardiola now is head and shoulders above the rest. I mean, tactically he's quite remarkable.
Yeah.
I just see, I mean, we know Klopp will come back.
Yeah,
we have and we're attracting the very best. And I think Arteta look, I know he's for a long time he's been the apprentice, but I think he's learning quickly, and he will learn from those mistakes the other night and move on. But Pep is the master, and I did sort of intimate to him the other night, could you take a rest and step aside, because it's getting, as long as he's around, City will win things. When he decides to hang up, he's 27 major trophies now. He's 3 away from, he can get this year 30. It's incredible what he's able to do. He's the one. He's the catalyst. He keeps, with every group, Jim, he reinvents. It was Messi at Barcelona. He invented that. Then he inherited it.
Oh, yeah.
Now he's got Haaland. He is almost the kind of the new Messi, the effect he's having. It's incredible to behold and watch.
I must admit, Simon, I watched Pep more than I watched the game the other night.
Where you cannot deny Guardiola, and that observations that Martin's make, is he just makes players better. Wherever he gets, you can make the argument, could he go down to Crawley Town and do it? He probably could, because he'd make the players at that level better. He makes players better. He does things with players that a lot of coaches... We watched Conte. As much as I advocated for Conte going into Tottenham, it was the Conte I had in my mind's eye. He doesn't make players better. Look at the players at Grealish. Talented, no doubt. Now a team player that works in a different way and is prepared to do things that Grealish would never have been prepared to do.
That's another U-turn.
Do you know what?
No, I'm not. I mean, Grealish is a talented player. Never said he wasn't. I mean, is he an irritant? Yeah, he's an irritant.
Do you know what?
They're different things.
You're right, Simon, because when you listen,
I'm going to get you an Alice band.
When you listen to Pep,
listen
closely. He's giving stuff away now. He starts to talk. He talked about Rudiger the other day. He talked about, I don't want him to run anywhere. I just want him to stay there. I don't want you running everywhere, because when you run, it's more difficult to pick a pass.
Yeah.
So just walk around in that area and patrol for us. Grealish didn't have any rules at Villa. No rules. Get the ball. Jack, do what you can do. He's just spent 2 years saying, no, you stay on that left-hand side and make sure you work for the team. Look how he was chasing back the other night.
Yeah.
So it's all there. That's the canvas.
Yeah.
But the way they keep on doing it, and he keeps on finding the motivation to do it, is remarkable.
It's incredible. One wonders how Vincent Kompany's Burnley will cope with the likes of Manchester City, where he was such a star.
Well, they lost 6-0 in the FA Cup.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.